The bells shattered the morning silence as the guards dragged Elira through the square. "Move!" one of them snapped, fingers digging into her arm. She stumbled, nearly falling, the crowd parting just enough to let her pass. Boots scraped stone. The sound echoed louder than the bells, louder than her own breath. Someone dropped a basket of grain. No one bent to pick it up. "Keep your head down," the older guard muttered, not unkindly. "It'll be easier that way." Elira lifted her chin instead. White cloth was already wrapped around her, rough and too tight, pulled over her shoulders like a shroud. She could smell the dye, sharp and clean, as if purity could be manufactured. Ahead of her, the altar rose from the square like a broken tooth. Dark stone veined with old stains no rain had ever washed away. Her mother's voice cut through the noise. "Elira." She turned. Her mother was fighting the press of bodies, face wet, hands shaking. Her father stood beside her, frozen, eyes hollow. "I'm here," Elira said, louder than she meant to. "I'm right here." A guard shoved her forward. No talking. "Why her?" someone whispered from the crowd. "Because it wasn't me," another voice replied. Elira heard both. The bells slowed. The High Herald stepped onto the platform, scroll unfurling in his hands. "By decree of the crown and the will of the kingdom," he intoned, "the lot has been drawn. Elira Vale is chosen. Through her sacrifice, Arkenfall will endure." Endure. The word sat heavy in Elira's chest. She laughed once, short and sharp, before she could stop herself. The guard hissed. "Are you mad?" "No," she said. "I'm listening." The herald's eyes flicked toward her, annoyed. "Do you accept this honor?" Honor. She searched the crowd again. Faces stared back, afraid, resigned, relieved. No one stepped forward. Elira swallowed. "What happens if I say no?" A murmur rippled through the square. The high priest answered from behind the altar, voice smooth. "The storm returns. The crops fail. Children starve. You know this." "Do I?" Elira shot back. "Or do you just tell us that so no one ever tries?" A sharp crack rang out as the priest struck the stone with his staff. "Enough. Take her." Hands seized her again. This time, tighter. As they led her down the steps beneath the altar, she caught her mother's gaze one last time. "I'm sorry," her mother sobbed. Elira shook her head. "Don't be." The chamber below was cold and bare, lit by a single torch. The guards pushed her inside and slammed the door shut. Silence rushed in. Elira leaned against the wall, heart pounding. For the first time since the bells rang, she let herself feel it. Fear, hot and suffocating. "So this is it," she whispered. Her voice bounced back at her, small and alone. She slid down until she was sitting on the stone floor. As her breathing slowed, her fingers brushed against something carved into the wall. Letters. Names. She leaned closer, tracing them. Hundreds of them, layered over one another, scratched by desperate hands. Lisa, Torin, Malik. Her throat tightened. You were all here. Some of the names were different, gouged out, scraped so hard the stone beneath was raw. "Why?" Elira murmured. "Because some of us refused to stay forgotten." The voice came from behind her. Elira spun around, scrambling to her feet. "Who's there?" A figure stood near the far wall, faint as smoke, her outline shimmering. A woman, young. A dark line circled her throat. Elira's breath caught. "You're dead." The woman tilted her head. "So are you. You just don't know it yet." "No," Elira said, shaking. "I'm alive. I'm right here." "For now?" the spirit replied. "What's your name?" "Elira." The woman smiled sadly. "I was Nara. They told me I was saving the kingdom too." Elira's anger flared, burning through her fear. "Did it work?" Nara laughed, bitter and hollow. Look around. We're still here, aren't we? Another shape appeared, then another. The chamber filled with pale light as more spirits stepped forward. They never told you the truth, one said. Elira backed into the wall. Stop. This isn't real. It is, Nara said gently. And you need to listen. Listen to what? Elira demanded. That I'm about to die? That you don't have to, Nara replied. Not the way they want. Elira's hands clenched into fists. If I don't, everyone dies. That's what they say. The spirits exchanged glances. They always say that, Nara whispered, because fear is easier than truth. Elira looked at the scratched-out names again. What happens if I refuse? Nara met her eyes. Everything changes. The torch flickered. Footsteps echoed faintly above. And for the first time since her name was drawn, Elira felt something rise beneath the fear. Not hope. Defiance. The footsteps overhead faded, but the weight of them lingered. Elira pressed her back to the cold wall, eyes darting between the spirits. If you're lying, she said, voice tight, this is a cruel way to do it. Nara stepped closer. Up close, her face looked almost solid. Freckles, a faint scar on her cheek. Too real to be a dream. We don't need to lie, Nara said. We're already dead. Then tell me, Elira snapped. Tell me why the kingdom still stands if all of you died for nothing. A tall man with hollow eyes spoke next. Because the storm was never real. Elira's breath stuttered. That's impossible. That's what we said, another spirit replied. Right before the blade came down, Nara knelt so they were eye to eye. The first king feared collapse, famine, rebellion, so he invented a threat greater than himself. A lie, Elira whispered. A story, Nara corrected. Repeated until it became law. Elira shook her head. But people swear they've seen the storm. They've seen clouds, the tall man said, and they were told what to fear. Elira slid back down the wall, hands gripping her knees. If I refuse, they'll kill me anyway. Yes, Nara said softly. Then what difference does it make? Nara's voice hardened. Because you won't die quietly. Silence filled the chamber again, heavier than before. Elira closed her eyes. She saw her mother's face, her father's empty stare, the crowd that looked away. They'll hate me, she said. They already chose you, Nara replied. This just lets you choose back. A horn sounded above, long and low. The spirits began to fade. Wait, Elira said urgently. If I do this, will it work? Nara's smile returned, small but fierce. Fear only works when everyone agrees to be afraid. The chamber door creaked open. Time, a guard muttered. Elira stood on unsteady legs as they led her back into the light. The square was fuller now. People stood on rooftops, clung to windows, pressed together like they were afraid space itself might vanish. The high priest raised his hands. People of Arkenfall, today the kingdom is tested. Elira was pushed onto the altar. The stone was warm beneath her bare feet. She scanned the crowd, heart hammering. She saw tears. She saw relief. She saw the king watching from the balcony, fingers drumming impatiently on the rail. The priest turned to her. Kneel. Elira didn't move. Kneel, he repeated sharper. She met his gaze. What happens if I stand? A ripple of murmurs passed through the square. The priest leaned in, teeth clenched. Do not make this harder than it needs to be. For who? Elira asked. His eyes flashed. For everyone. No, she said quietly. Just for you. The priest straightened, forcing a smile. The sacrifice accepts her fate. I don't, Elira said. The square went still. Somewhere a child began to cry. The king rose from his seat. Enough of this, proceed. The priest lifted the blade. Elira laughed. The sound cut through the air like shattered glass. Heads snapped up. Whispers turned sharp. She's mad. Is this part of it? Elira raised her voice. Look at me. The priest hissed. Stop this at once. How many names are carved beneath this stone? Elira shouted. Have any of you counted? Guards shifted uneasily. You tell us the kingdom needs blood, she continued, but you never show us proof. You just show us fear. The sky darkened. A collective gasp surged through the crowd. There, someone screamed. The storm. The priest smiled, relief flooding his face. You see? The price must be paid. Elira lifted her arms, then let it fall. Thunder rumbled. Her heart pounded so hard she thought she might faint, but she stood her ground. Do it, she whispered. If it's real. The wind howled. Clouds twisted overhead. Then, nothing. No lightning, no fire, no rain. The wind died. Confusion rippled through the square. The priest's smile faltered. This is not. The air shimmered. Figures began to rise from the altar, pale and glowing. The spirits, screams erupted. People stumbled back, tripping over one another. These are your sacrifices, Elira said, voice shaking but loud. They never saved you. They were silenced so you would obey. The king shouted, Kill her, now! The guards looked at one another. None moved. If you're still watching, this is the moment everything turns. If stories like this keep you hooked, make sure you're subscribed, because what happens next is what they never wanted anyone to see.